Okay, welcome everyone to the second Kids Knowledge Seekers workshop from the Spaceship Institute in Italy and brought to you by the Keshe Foundation. And we'll be speaking with Mr. Keshe of the Keshe Foundation, and Mr. Keshe will be doing the instruction today and showing us in a practical way how the universe works. And some of the things we'll be looking at are magnetic fields, which are a basis of how the universe works. And Kevin Devaney will be a co-host here, and we'll hear from him next, and he'll give a little discussion on the way he sees this kids workshop is going. Okay, Kevin, are you there? Would you like to say something now?
Hey, Vandavani again. Mr. Keshe, as we learned last time in the first kids workshop about what is matter and what is plasma, illustrating very well with an egg, and also what a magnet actually looks like. It's not square, it's or anything else. It's spherical. This is the bottom line. What I learned. At the end of the first workshop, as you might remember, I asked you about if everything is plasma, then and since I learned from your books and from your teachings and your workshops that there is no Big Bang or this Big Bang theory that is still being taught at schools and universities to students. So what is the source of creation? What is the source of all? Is there a mother universe? And if there is, what is the very beginning, the source? That's what really interests me. And I would really appreciate if you could go into a little bit detail. Was our universe separated from the mother universe, or so that also kids might have a bigger picture, going from the very, very bigger picture into the small details. Thank you.
Thank you very much. What we try to do instead of in going into more complicated situation is trying to explain and go back in a few minutes, just for a few minutes, over what we tried to explain in the first part, that if it's not understood or if you can explain it in a different form and shape. What we said is that the world is made of gravitational magnetic fields, and the whole universe is built on the interaction of the field. So what does this mean? Fields, as you can see here, are in motion in the universe, in everywhere dimension. And then as they come in touch with each other, they make a ball, which part of the field goes in and part of the field which is not in interaction of repelling comes out. So if you look at this, it's like two bunch of magnets coming to magnetic fields coming together, and their interaction creates gravity, or which is attraction. That's what gravity means. Adults like to make it very complicated, and we tend to make different names for the same thing to show the level of how intelligent we are. So if anybody tells you about gravity, gravity means in English gravitating. It means coming together. It means joining up. Magnetic field repulsion, it means when you go away from each other. So when you have two bunches of magnetic fields coming and going, some of them come together and some of them go away from each other. And this is how a plasma is created. The total of fields come together, which pull together, it's just like putting you and your hold hand together, is called gravity, and you pull each other together. And then bunch are there who pull away from you, they're trying to pull outwards. We call this magnetic field or magnetical field, which is the repulsion. So if you look at it, this is exactly the structure of the magnetic field, but in 3 dimension. What this 3 dimension means is these fields, some are coming in and some are going out. And if you put them together, they become like this, they rotate. And then that's how literally a plasma is made. The more and more of these you put together, then the more you get the interaction of the fields to be. So you find out the fields, all of them come together, some inwards and some outwards. The ones which go in and the totality makes a sphere, a three-dimensional sphere. So in reality, if you look, this is a very much the reality about the plasma, but as a ball. You see it in every direction, fields flow. So this, when it's very tight together and all of them come together, the ones who hold and pull together, they call gravity. The ones which in your team pull you back and out, they become magnetical field. And the totality of the balance, it comes to a point that if you pull too much together, you can bring the ones who are pulling out in, and then the whole system breaks. And if the ones which are pulling the circle out are stronger than anyone inside pulling together, the whole circle breaks. So when there is a balance and all the fields going in and pulling in and going out and pushing out, when they are in balance, it becomes like a ball. So this is what we call a plasma. In the universe, this is the shape of a plasma. In the universe, this is how it is. But in fact, if you look at it, a plasma is transparent, very much like this. This is the shape of a real plasma. Very transparent, very can see. But if you open a plasma like this, and you put all these fields inside it, they very much look like having a center, like this, and then a gap between the center and outside. So the center becomes the center of the plasma, and from the center to where you can feel it is the time when the plasma travels from the center to the side, and where I touch is called the matter. The center one, the center ball, we call the principle because it's the mother, it's the creator, it's where everything comes out of. So the time from the center to the out is the transition, it's the travel time. It takes to go from A to B. It's like it takes to go from home to school, as we said before. And then when it becomes, when you arrive to a school, that's where you want to be, is where the outside is. So if you go back and take the center out and put those fields which we created to fit into the ball, in a way, what you see is very simple. This is the shape of a plasma. A center field in the middle, as tight as we can make it, because that's the mother, it comes out. Maybe we can put two of them to show that because it's two sets, this is the gravity, and what we can do is to make it the same way, but in a different direction. So now we have fields going in and out, and then we close this container. So what we see in the center, in fact, is that's what is we have right in front of you. This is what we call a plasma. The center was where the tight ones are, and then as the field comes out, at a boundary from the center to travel to the edge, to the container, it becomes they're in travel, and then it becomes a solid matter, where you can feel it. But this solid matter is still a magnetic field plasma. But this is where we can feel it, this is where we can see it. So this is in fact a plasma. That's how simple a plasma is. Magnetic fields which they open up, and the center where you see very tight up, we call the principle, where the mother is. In your world, you call it the mother, which is the creator, source. And then as it opens up from the mother, as you can see, in the field, and if you open it, you see in the fields, this is the mother, we call it the principle, and these are the rays. And then when these rays come to a point of strength, is what we see as matter. So this is a plasma. You can create any plasma you like. So now you understand the principle of the creation. The principle of creation is When many of these plasmas of different sizes, because some are small like this, some is bigger plasma, but the same structure. We call this smaller one, for example, electron, and a bigger one a proton. And when an electron and proton come together, we make one atom. And this is what your body is made of. Millions and millions of things like this. But the difference is that this one rotates, goes very fast around the bigger one. And now this electron, because it's a smaller, has to follow the mama. It's like you and the mama. This is the mama, and this is you. You always have to have a hand to mama to know where you are. So you go everywhere, but still mama lets you play free, but still holds hand. And this is what it is. And then when you put hundreds and thousands and millions of these together, you make a matter. The matter, what we see. It could be your chair, it could be your pen, it could be the food you put in your mouth, and depends how many of these come together to make that matter. This is a simple way of defining and understanding the structure of a plasma. But the thing is, when many of these plasmas come together, it looks very much like your toy. If you're a boy, you always played with these. We call these a connect. But in fact, they are the real, true structure, what you can see a plasma about. You see the little balls? I try to go further, you can see it. And then the little balls connect with another balls. And at the time, at a position when the ball is there, you find a connection to another ball. This is like an atom of water, what we call the hydrogen, and an oxygen, one oxygen and two hydrogens. And then what do we get? We get a water. And then when millions and millions of these, you see the little circles join up with the other things, this is what we call molecules, and millions of millions of molecules make the human body. So now you see how you're made of, in a very simple way, a human body, but made of millions of atoms, which are made of plasmas, which make the human body. But the number of atoms and the number of electrons and protons, if you remember, which make plus each other into a molecule, decides what matter is going to be. If you have one small one and one big one, what we call a proton electron, this is hydrogen. This is the first element we know. And then if we make like 16 of these, or 2 times 8 of these cells, we call them hydrogen. And then when you have 16 of these, and what you call 2 hydrogen, which is 2 of these, and 1 of the 8, which means this is 2, 1 atom, but if you go 8 of these, and neutrons, which are bigger than the brothers, you make a water, then you have H2O, so you have water. So you need altogether so many plasmas of this size, this shape, of a small and a big one, to make water what you drink. And then you make more and more of it, then it becomes the carbon, if it's less, or it becomes magnets, which is iron, when it goes more and more, of 56 of them. Or if you go the carbon you write in the pencil you write with, is 6 of them, because that's how it works. And now you make atoms and you make molecules. And if they crush just as they did now, they open up, and the fields, we call this mixing with others. And then they lead to creation of, when they interact with other tools which are in other places, now this and this have become one plasma, and this, in moving with another one like this, it becomes another plasma. So now you have 2 plasmas, 2 magnetic fields, which they sit and they interact. And then one becomes a smaller one, and one becomes the bigger one. This is the bigger one, the proton, which was this one, and we have the smaller one, which is the electron. So Now, this is how simple life is about. And then if you get millions of them together, as we shown in the last program, we see there it is, another plasma. If you remember, this is the egg. There is the egg. This is another plasma, but it's transparent because, if you remember, this was the shape of the egg. The solid egg, the white egg, is when we have it like this. The soft egg, which is the plasma, and the yolk inside is what's inside this. So if I put this inside this, in reality, when it comes to be solid, this is the same as this. So that is the plasma which goes from one size to another. So we see how simple science is. Science is fun. And then when you start understanding this, then you can play games. You can play games in a way of making, as we said, with magnets. You get the lighter magnets, you get the stronger magnets, you get the weaker magnets. It's like a big boys and little boys. The bigger boys are the stronger boys, and the little boys are the weaker one because they're small. And then you see how they interact. That's what's gravity. Because they pull to each other. They gravitate. And now, so when a teacher says, what is a gravity to you? You say, is when magnets pull together. When magnetic fields come to interact, and then what happens if you look? It's very simple. I can bring this to a point and then it comes in. If you want to see it in a bigger size, in a bigger scale, and see the power of how you can pull, it's very simple. If I put a magnet there, and I put a magnet here, look, all it is fields. Let's put this out of the way that you can see it perfectly. So what happened? All the fields from this magnet are all over the place like this. They're like this. That's the magnet field of that one. And then this one is sending its fields out. And then what happened? When they come together and they can match each other, this moves in. Look what happens. Whoop, they come to one. And that's what happens. The fields connect together even though they stay at two separate plasmas. So, but in fact, in the universe, all the magnetic fields anywhere in the universe, magnetic field of your nail, to the magnetic field of your toe, to the magnetic field of your hair, to the magnetic field of your nose, is connected to the magnetic field of the furthest star in the universe. Because fields are all interconnected. So if you have, let's say, if this is a galaxy somewhere out, or if this is the sun, you understand how they're connected. Look, this is the sun. If I move the sun, the cells move, the magnets move. So they have nothing to do with each other, but they're connected. So even if I bring these together here, and I put your nail of this, let's say that was the sun, it was a big one, and this is a small one. If I put this here, you see, when I come close, without you wanting, you're connected. You have to see it in a bigger magnet. Maybe you see it in easier because I use a darker magnet. Let me see. This is good. Okay. Now you can see it in a dark magnet. If I move this, look what happens. The other magnet moves. So this magnet, doesn't matter wherever it is connected to this. And if I move this, look, all three move. So the creation of magnetic fields comes from one source, and all of them, they keep on dividing, the stronger one together, the bigger one together. It's like when you go to school. The little boys play together, they come together, and big boys play together, and girls play together, and the boys play together. And sometimes boys and girls come and play together, and sometimes the big boys with the little boys come and play together. So all the fields in the universe are connected through what we don't see, but is part of the existence. You see, you don't see anything, but this moves. Because it's connected, there is no motor. This is one of the problems in the present world of science. We think we can create motion by having a motor or a jet engine. And as we say in our books, in our work, we never see motors anywhere. We never seen a motor hanging on Earth. We haven't seen a motor hanging on the sun. But they move, and look how they move. That's how simple it is. And if you can create a right amount of field and motion, a right amount of magnetic field strength, you'll find out not only they move, you can make them to rotate too. So that's how rotation in the universe is created. If I put a little marker on this pen, you can see, if you can see it from a distance, if I put a little marker on this magnet, if you can see the marker, if it's not too far, and or if it's too far for you, I try to do something else which you might like. If I make this like an arrow that you can see, yeah? And if I bring the magnets together, you see what happened. The arrow moves. That's how motion in the universe is created. There is no motor, but look at the arrow here at the end of this magnet. We didn't do anything. We just, what we did, I tried to do it that you can see it. We bring the two magnets together and see how motion creates it. You see? Unless it turns and gets attracted, you'll find out that nowhere in the universe there is a motor. Nowhere in the universe there is a jet engine. Motion in the universe, look what happened. We just bring, this is my two fingers. If you can see the magnets, the fingers, the magnets are at the end of my finger. Look, I just bring them in and look at the motion. Look, the magnet rotates. I can dictate where to go and how to turn. I want it to turn clockwise or anti-clockwise. So this is how magnetic field in a plasma condition creates their motion. But nothing is flat in the universe. In the universe, the plasmas are in this shape. They stand up. So if I can be able to do something very nice here, you will see a magic, which a lot of adults older than you have not managed to understand yet. Let's see. Okay, now look. Look how easy we create motion. You can go forward, you can go backwards. You can go any shape you like till you come together. That's how the magnetic field came together. So, but the interesting thing is, and you understand, and if you've seen, the magnetic fields, when they're in a plasma, they need much more bigger space than, look, the magnet goes anywhere. You can create this motion, you can make it dance, depending on what is above it, because everything in the universe is not on a flat plane. Everything in the universe is like you being on a swing. You're free and loose. If somebody touches you, you go faster. If you decide, you stop. So, you see, we can create a motion in a very, very simple way. I'll show you something much easier to see because it doesn't fall that fast. If we make this stronger and we bring in two more magnets from somewhere else, then you see more stability of it. Now look, we don't need to do anything. We can make it to go left or right. If it goes around itself in this direction, this is it's a clockwise. If it goes left, this is how most of the plasmas move in the universe. They go this way, backwards. And we call it anti-clockwise. If it goes clockwise, we call it a positron. Nobody knows what this name came from, because they think it's positive and it goes the right way. But strange enough, the clock of the universe moves in motional way backwards. It goes anti-clockwise. And all the plasmas, most of the plasmas in the universe go like as you see in your magnet there. All they move this way. backwards. And you see, somewhere, and then some go forwards. Very few go forwards, and we call these positrons. And so, now you've seen how magnetic field can create motion without actually any motors. And this has been a magic for a lot of men, how universe works and how motion in universe is created in a very simple way. I don't need to do anything. I can dance this as much as. But when you come exactly fast enough, it becomes like Earth. What happens in our Earth? This is our Earth. Our Earth is a tiny little thing. And then the sun is much bigger. If I can make it easier for you to see, we make the red one the Earth. And we make the big one the sun. The sun rotates and the Earth rotates. And if you look at these two, the sun and the Earth have a distance from each other because, in a very simple way, this is the sun, this magnet. And then I choose a smaller magnet, we call it the Earth. If you look, these two magnets, if I move one, the other one moves. And this creates a space where we see exactly where are we closed. There we got the problem. Cancel it. Can you move a bit? Can you hear us? Yeah, okay.
Seems
we have
fine.
a problem with our screen. Can you see the picture?
Yes, it should be coming through on live stream.
Okay, so what we see, the distance between the sun, which is a bigger, and the Earth, which is a smaller. You see, if I move, the distance moves. And then, you see it? It moves. So, the strength of the bigger one decides the position. The bigger one is the sun, and the smaller one is the Earth. So, as the sun moves, it dictates. I don't use any smaller magnet because you won't see it, but the ratio is much, much different. So, you see what happens? I move, this moves. So, the distance between the Earth and the sun plasmas are dictated by the magnetic field of their size and what they create inside them. So, now we'll learn a little bit more about plasma today. We understand more that the plasmas are around things, and in the universe we don't have anything like this, the magnets you see as you remember last time. Things like this don't exist in the universe. So now you can see the process of the creation. In fact, if I put this way and this way, you'll see the distance increases. Longer distance is needed than being flat. Because you see what happened? If I move this, the bigger one moves too. Look. You see? When they are flat, this is how far they distance when they are rotating. If I bring them forward, if they are flat, you see, you need much, 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 much smaller distance to interact. Look. Look. That's the point of interaction. You see that? But when they were hanging, and as a plasma they rotate, because there's more fields all over coming out, the distance of interaction or changing each other changes. Look how far it's gone back to. Nearly the double. So that's why in the universe, the distance between planet and the stars is so vast and so far from each other. Because they create more of these fields. If you look at it, this is like this, as you remember. And these fields span the universe in such a way that they need more rooms because they're going all over. And then, if you look at it in so many other ways, this is another piece of the Earth. Earth is exactly the same. It's not just the ball, you see it, but if you put it on this, it carries the same kind of magnetic fields. Let me find something I can hang this one onto. It's the round small ones we had here. Oh, it's okay, I found it. There we are. So this is the position of the Earth, and it goes back to the magnetic fields of the Earth. There we are. That's how they look. The people with a mustache. There we are. And this is how they are, and that's how they look, and that's how they become part of the universe. And then the magnetic field, if you remember, of this one connects with the other one. And that's how it looks. This is the center of the Earth. This is the center of the, the sun, and this is the center of the Earth. Change the name. What I showed you in the plasma of the small and the bigger one. This one's the proton, this one was the electron. Now what do you see? Change of name and the size. Millions of these make your body. But now millions of your bodies and millions of people and all the things on this planet make the Earth and the sun. And this is what and how it is. It's just the size in different names, but the principle is the same. So the plasma of an atom, a plasma of an electron, which is a tiny little thing, that's why you get electric current that you use it and you get your light off, is the same as a full of a magnetic field in the on the Earth or on the sun. And where they are comfortable, look, if I use this, you will see it in a very, very nice way. And that is, don't touch these, please. They're dangerous. If I move this, look what happens. If I move the magnet underneath of the little one, of the where the small electron sitting, what happened? Look. The strength of one pushes the other one out. And ouch. Can I have this, please? So what do you see? We see it here. We change it back. And then if we put one magnetic field, one magnet there that we can control, and we put one magnet which is bigger here and try to pull them together, then you see if we can create a field. Now the field is much, they're too small and too big. They come to touch each other before they physically come together. I change this to a smaller plasma that maybe we can see the interaction. You see? The smaller ball is moving away. And this is what happens. So if I bring it back in the middle, you will see it. That now if we call the red one the Earth and the big one the sun, which is bright and true, and you see what happens. If the sun comes too close, what happened to the other one? You see? It's running away because the field between the two plasmas decide the distance. Now, I think it's enough for today. We have taught enough. Is there any question?
Thank you very much, Mr. Keshe. That actually was very clear for me. That wrapped it up quite well. And if you can explain it to me, then I'm sure that the kids must have understood, because I'm definitely a child when it comes to understanding truly the way these work. I would like to know a little bit more about where do the wound up magnetic fields come from to start with? Are they more like a straight magnetic field, or are they always wound up? Do they always tend to wind themselves up right off the bat? But what is the source of the magnetic fields? Is there a particular source, or is that even known? Is that something that can be known, for example? Can you explain a little bit about that?
The magnetic fields on let's say in your body, comes from the magnetic fields of what is released by the sun. Originally, We were within the sun, and when the sun was created and created this plasma, when the magnetic field, gravitational field of the plasmas slowed down, it created atoms, and the atoms together made molecules, and then on this planet, at this position, it becomes the body of the me, you, or whatever. When you have a plasma, plasma has got two properties. One is to attract other fields, and one is to repel what it doesn't need. So that's how a plasma is created. So when you have a plasma which releases what it doesn't need, there is another plasma somewhere else which needs that. So the minute you are detached from the central plasma, you are attracted to another plasma. So the fields are always in the universe in motion, going from one place to another, depending on their strength, depending on their position. So the totality of what made you from the sun is the same, because your sun comes from the bigger structure, what we call galaxies, which all the fields in that sun have come from the galaxy itself, which radiates outwards. And then the same goes when billions and millions of galaxies come together, they make the structure of this universe, which has come from the center. So, in fact, this universe where we live in, and with all the stars we see in it, is actually, if you think of it, is very much like millions and millions and millions and millions of these plasmas we showed in the man. There is no difference in the plasma which is here, which made the body of the man, to the plasmas in a larger scale which make the suns, and then they make the galaxies. So the origin of life in this planet and body of the man and in this universe comes from its central point. It's exactly like this. If you scale this up, this becomes the universe. And all those magnetic fields inside it become the galaxies. So what happens, if I open this and put all these little balls inside it, now you can see how. If I can close it, now you see what the galaxies are. Millions and millions of stars inside it. And this is our universe. But hundreds of millions. And where the material of the fields have managed to become what we call controlling itself, what we call amino acid, like Earth, this is where Earth is. If you remember this, and you look at it, you got a little doggy in there. So now this has led to life. But they're not necessarily the other ones, but this is the life we see in the universe. That's our universe. And if you put this so many shapes, this is the shape of the body of your body, what it is, but millions of them together. Yes?
Mr. Keshe, can I just inject with a final question? I know we don't have much time, and not any time left, but I want to thank Rick for that final question, because that was really on my tongue, which I wanted to ask you. Where do those plasmatic magnetic gravitational fields? Because you just mentioned just shortly in the beginning principal matter.
In this universe, everything comes from the center point. Mm-hmm. But in time, as you know, when we speak about the size of the first, what we call principal matter size in this universe, we call it a neutron. A neutron divides into electron and a proton, which was the big atom and a small atom, plasma, sorry. So when a neutron divides into electron and proton, a bigger plasma and a smaller plasma, our universe came from that. It's literally, our universe is very much like this. There is a bigger universe. And our universe, in dividing, opening up and dividing, or our mother universe, has led to creation of one or more two plasmas, which one of these two is our universe. Mm-hmm. So the magnetic field of all the entities in this universe has led to the creation of when it comes collectively to all the stars. So the origin of our magnetic fields comes from the plasma, which is division billions of years ago, according to the man's life, led to separation of two plasmas, which is one of them is our universe. But in the totality, universes divide and become a smaller and bigger one, and then the fields in each universe divides, it becomes galaxies, and then when they divide more, they become solar systems, and then when they divide more, you have the planets, and then when they divide more and more on these planets in the smaller packages, they become atoms, and then atoms come together in a different formation that led to the creation of life or man on Earth. But if you understand the simplicity of this process, it tells you one thing, that man cannot be the only creation on this universe, because it's a natural process.
Exactly. Thank you.
This is what it is, the origin. But then it goes, it's a bit too far for the children to understand, but for the adults, then if you understand that if the mother universe, which our universe came from it, was created, it has to come from a bigger container. And then the interaction of the totality makes what we call the unicos, and that's where the essence of the creation, or what we call the creator, which is very much what children call God. Then whatever he feels and his love and care, exactly like these magnetic fields have you seen, once it moves, it touches every field in the world of the creation, all the universes and our universe and everything which is within our universe. That's why in our teachings and in teachings of the Holy Scripts always say God loves everybody the same way and by the same measure, because when he feels moves, it touches everything within it. It doesn't know exclusivity if there is life on the planet Earth, or there is life on the, God knows, on the Mars or in another universe. And it's all affected by the same measure.
Thank you very much, Mr. Keshe.
I think, Rick, you have a video, you can show how plasma comes as an animation, which you showed us before. I think
yes.
That would be a good point to end up with, that the children can understand.
Okay, I'm playing that now, and the idea is we see the magnetic rays intertwining and changing into the plasma of, say, a plasma of an atom, you might say.
That's the rays, but they're getting pulled to somewhere else. So when they pull, they don't go straight, they bend, and that's it. It's exactly what you've seen in the magnets. They pull together, and then with the ones who come together, hold the hand, become the gravity of this plasma, and the ones who pull outwards, they become magnetical, what we call the magnetical field of, which is the repulsion of it, or going away from each other. And then when they are in balance, it becomes the atmosphere of the boundary of the atmosphere of the plasma, or what we call the atmosphere of the Earth in our case.
Or could this also be the neutron that we see at the end, the creation of the neutron?
Yes, yes. And you can call it even the star, the sun.
It's and from that neutron, it would split off. Part of it would split off into an electron, and it would turn into a proton and electron from that neutron. Yeah. Correct?
Yeah, it's the same way. Yes,
so we can have a sequel. We'll have a sequel to the animation where the neutron star here will split off into a smaller electron plus a proton.
Yeah, then we call it an atom.
Okay, we should have that ready for next week's installment, next week's session.
That's fantastic. So that's perfect for today. I hope we learn a little bit more, and I think the adults will learn more than the children from this, because there is a lot of ambiguity about the plasma and what plasma is and how it works, and I think we have enough tools to show what it is and how it works.
Very good. Thank you for an excellent session today, Mr. Keshe. I think that explained a lot to the kids and all of us, for sure.
Thank you indeed, and have a nice evening. We speak in about a few hours, less than 12 hours, actually exactly 12 hours when we do the Thursday teachings for the adults.
In the Knowledge Seekers workshop, that's right.
Yeah. So we meet back in exactly 12 hours. We start the Knowledge Seekers for the adults, who I think the adults should be put this first for them to see, and then we start teaching.
Yes, they should see the whole kids workshop first, I think.
That's a
That's why I say we are all kid in the heart. I think we have to understand.
That's where we have to start from, isn't it?
The core, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
You.
For a nice evening.
Thank you, Mr. Kesh.
Thank you, Kevin, too.
Welcome. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.